Hi there, I'm Bonnie from Chaotically Organized. Today we will walk through my January setup. So this is already set up. I'm just going to talk about the theme, the process, all the supplies I used, and I'll be doing this going forward because I tried to film myself preparing this. It was catastrophic. I did fix all the mistakes that I did in that attempt and upgraded my setup. But at that point, like by the time I did all of that, I had already set up January and February. So we're just gonna walk through them together because I love sharing my journal and talking about it. So in the last video, we did my setup for 2024. In this video, I'm gonna babble about my January setup. So I did an owls theme and my sister sort of chose it. So what ended up happening is last year my mom chose all of the themes, and this year my sister wanted to do that as well, except that I'm using gray paper for the first time. And you know, I had plans and there are things that I want to experiment with and do in a journal or in a gray paper journal. As a middle ground, I will every month choose a few themes that I wouldn't mind be my theme for that month, and then she will choose from there. So this also limits the options for her, which is always a good thing. So we settled on owls. Apparently, my mom tells me that I was obsessed with owls when I was younger, and I had to have everything be an owl, but I have no recollection of that. Nothing. I remember loving horses, but I don't remember loving owls. When she chose owls, I knew I had to have this picture. She hated it, but I was adamant because this owl picture has been in my Pinterest board for literal years. And I knew at some point I was going to use gray paper, and when that happened, I knew I had to have it as a cover page, so here it is. It also freaks my mom out, but hey, I'm happy with it. And I actually used coloring pencils along with fine liners to do the owl. So I used the Faber-Castell white but in the polychromos formula, and this is apparently oil-based, which makes me want to experiment with oil-based pencil crayons or coloring pencils more, because this goes on very smooth and very opaque. Like this is just one layer of the pencil crayon. I heard one person say pencil crayons, and now I cannot use anything else. Anyway, so we used the white polychromos, and then I only have the white, so I ended up using just a regular black coloring pencil, and I would guess that this is in the wax formula. So I used that for all of the shadows and the like little details. And then I went with fine liners. I used the Pigma Micron in 03 and the Unipen fine liner in 05, and I just alternated. I had them out and I was alternating based on what I reached out for. And then for the flowers, on the original picture they were gold, but I didn't want to use gold because I used gold shimmer on the yearly setup, so I was kind of sick of the gold at that point. Anyway, I decided to go with pink, and I used Crayola Color of the World markers from the rose set. So we have light rose and light medium rose, and I used both for the flower and also later on for some of the details. So we're gonna put these right here. For the title, I searched on Pinterest and I found this font for January, and I thought it was really beautiful and fit sort of the vibe I was going with for the owl theme. So I decided to use it, and I used it exclusively almost for all the January headers in this setup. So this is my cover page. Next, we have my calendar page and also the dashboard. So let's talk about my calendar page first. I did a one-page calendar, and let me grab a ruler. And the size of this calendar is maybe 2.8 by 2. So 2 by 2.8, which is also the width of the ruler that I have here. This is the standard width, or like height, I guess, of the calendars that I use, which is like the easiest way you can set up a calendar is just line up the ruler with the edge of the page, and then you have your first line, and then line up the ruler with that line, and you have the second line, etc. And then I separated it into 7 equal sections. For the days of the week, I put a wash of the Crayola Color of the World marker, and I actually taped off the area with washi tape, and instead of like coloring horizontally, I colored vertically, so like the actual pen motion was this way, and this way I was able to get an even wash of color that is smooth and non-streaky, so that was nice. And then I have the same font for January down at the bottom. I love putting headers at the bottom of the page. And then I also did a wash of color as well here, just to tie it off and balance the layout. And I used the fine liner, one of them, to do all of the black lines. Then for my monthly dashboard, I just have 4 sections, and I went with the most basic layout, which is separating the page into 4 equal sections. I added something to it, I guess, by doubling the lines horizontally and vertically. That way it's almost like each section is a box, but I did not continue the other 2 sides, if that makes sense. Then I wanted to add a wash of color as I did here, but I did not want to tape it off with washi tape, because like how am I gonna get an equal triangle? It's not a triangle, an equal rectangle 4 times. So I actually used this stencil, and I used this, which is the header for the mini calendars. I just placed it down and used the same vertical motion to get a smooth wash of color, which is nice. And then the illustration, I drew an owl here, and I don't really like how I colored it in. I feel like I could have done better. What I do like is I did the branches in pink, and I feel like that alone makes me want to like it, that the branch is in pink. So as you can see, we are almost done with the month. It's currently the 20th. Flipping over, we have my weeklies, and my plan originally was to draw the owl on the cover page and that's it. But then I saw this, which was actually a tattoo, but I liked it so much, I was like, okay, I need to have this on a weekly. But I also didn't want to draw on every single weekly and come up with multiple weekly styles. So I was like, let's go with the shortcut, which is making Dutch doors. So I drew the owl and measured like how much I can get away with cutting, and we ended up with a almost 16 tall and 10 wide page. And I basically cut off as many pages as I would need for all of the weeklies in January, and I ended up outlining them with the same Color of the World marker, added a January header in the same font using one of the brush pens, and then did a very simple weekly style. I'm gonna flip to one of the empty weeklies so you can see how it would look had I set this up on camera without it being filled. So basically, very simple. I separated each page to 6 sections, and then the last one is a little bit larger because it hosts Friday and Saturday. And then sometimes I had 2 weeks on each page, like 1 week here, 1 week here. Other times, like this one, I have 1 week and then a mirrored page for notes. So let's flip on to the first one so that we can, so this is week 1, this is week 2, flipping over, this is week 3, which is we are on right now. And then I actually ended up putting my mid-month goal check-in, which is the prompt for week 3 of a year of planning challenge, in here because I was not going to use the notes section. And I ended up using some nail art stickers, these beautiful mini white cherry blossoms, and it worked perfect for me. Then we have week 4 with its notes, and lastly week 5 with its notes. And then for the owl, I followed the same steps, using the polychromos for all the white areas, the regular Faber-Castell black pencil crayon for all of the black areas and the shadows and the details, and then the Pigma Micron for all of the rest of the details and also the outlines. And I think I forgot to outline the rest of the wing right here, so there's that. Next, we have a tracker and also my month in review. So for a tracker, I like to track the outfits I wear each month and also the books I read throughout the month. So I do a simple tracker. I'm not sure why I did the numbers or the days of the week, I'm not sure why I did the days of the month so small, but they ended up being very small and I was too lazy to fix it. I used the same stencil to do the squares or the rectangles for the headers, and used one of the fine liners to write what the header is. And then I also ended up going on an antibiotic, so I ended up adding a tracker here, and that was before I set up a larger tracker, which we will see in a second. And then my month in review, I did it very simple as well, used the same font header for January, just in a different size I think, and then I wrote in review in all caps, did a very simple border, and then used the stencil to make headers for each of the sections of my review. And we have one for highlights, one for challenges, one for accomplished, one for to get to, one for a year of planning, and a one for uni and internship, favorite outfit, book statistics, finances, and then the month in a word. I ended up lining them wrong, so no two headers are on the same level, you could say. And for January, I decided to treat my January in review as a tracker, so I'm gonna look at it every day and see if I can add anything to any of the sections, rather than wait for the end of the month where I'm probably busy and don't have time for this, and I also can't remember anything from the month. So as you can see, I've already filled some of the things in my highlights and challenges. I've got a few things accomplished. My to get to is basically tasks from my task list on the monthly log or monthly dashboard. So this one, anything I don't accomplish here will get put to here, and then it will be transferred into a page in my yearly setup, which is this one, also titled to get to. My year of planning, I already ticked all first 3 weeks, uni and internship, and then the rest I will do at the end of the month. And this is the last thing. I did not set it up while I was setting January, but it's relevant. So this is my skincare and hair care routine, and as you can see, I started it on the 10th, which is why I had it here and not before, and also all of this area is grayed out. So I have the details here and a simple years in pixel layout, and it's working splendidly well. I'm following it for the most part, except maybe the La Roche-Posay sunscreen, which gave me a migraine the few times I used it, so I stopped using it, which is why I'm not taking any of these off. I also don't leave my house, so there's that. I also already made the grid for February, and after I've made the grid for February, I realized that I wish I had done the details on this area and then done the grid on this, so that I can have the details here, then January grid, February grid, and then probably March grid as well. But it's already done. I also used more nail art stickers here just to add something. I kinda don't like it, but also I'm not gonna do anything for it, because in this year I'm trying to battle my mental barriers and my perfectionism. So we have my hair care stuff, skincare stuff, and also some vitamins. But that is it for my January setup. Let's take a quick flip through once again of the entire month. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this format of videos or bullet journaling videos, subscribe and also follow me on Instagram. Anything you might want to know is in the description box, and I will see you in the next one.